that police has yet to provide any information to the public almost 24 hours after one person was killed and 3 others injured following clashes at Oshieye here in Accra. Some residents have fled whilst others are considering leaving as they fear for their safety. Some of the residents say the deceased was accosted by some workers on a building site and was killed after an altercation. JoyNews has also learned that a chieftaincy dispute dating 2 decades is responsible for the clashes. Maxwell Agbagba has been there. Here is his report.
This is the exact spot where the gentleman was killed Thursday morning. Now, when you come here, the blood is still splattered here. Some of the residents in this little community of Oshieye have tried covering it with some soil, but it's still visible. You can still see the blood. They tell me that sometime around 8:00 a.m. Thursday, they heard some gunshots echoing around this place. They came out and then they saw the body lying here. Earlier, we were at the Kokrobite police station where some officers there tell us that a long-standing dispute between some claimants to the stool here in this community has resulted in many land cases. One of those cases is what has resulted in the killing of the gentleman here in this community.
Around 8 a.m., we were in the house. We heard some gunshots. When we came out, we realized someone had been shot. The person had died at the time we came here. We were about 10 residents gathered here after the shooting. We heard the gunshots and ran to our rooms. We are new in this community and we've never seen anything like this before. We want to go back to our hometown.
The
Langards usually attack us when we are working. They tell us to stop anytime they meet us. Sometimes they extort money from us. When you don't give them, they will attack you. This is my son. They hit his head with a stick a month ago. Even when we are working, we are scared. We are living in fear in this community.
Let's go on the lines now and speak with Inspector Kwabena Danso, his Deputy PRO for the Greater Accra Region Police on this matter. Sir, thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse. What information has the police on this matter for the public?
Good afternoon.
Very well, sir. I'm asking what information there is for the public from the police at this point about this matter.
Hello, come again, please.
I'm asking what information the police has gathered so far for the public from what's happened at Oshieye.
Following what happened at Oshieye, police acted swiftly by deploying teams of patrol teams at the place to ensure law and order, in which we've been able to arrest 29 suspects. Our investigations disclosed there was 2 land guard factions that clashed, which led to the death of 1 person. So, as of now, there's massive police presence at Oshieye to ensure that we don't record any reprisal attacks. That is what we've done so far.
There are people in the community who are afraid. They fear for their own safety. Now that the police have been there, are they going to stay? How long are they going to stay? And what are they going to do to make the people feel a bit safer?
Police, as I said earlier, we are there to ensure law and order. But what I'll use your medium to tell the general public is that they should not take the law into their own hands. They should report any incident to the police for the police to handle. We are going to be in the community to ensure law and order.
What do we know about this gentleman who was killed?
I understand he is a leader of one of the factions we're talking about. So we are still investigating. That is what I can say.
And the 29 suspects?
Yes, yes.
Oh, today being a Friday, are they going to be in police custody up until beyond 24 hours?
They were arrested yesterday, so we are in the process. Since some of them have been cautioned, what have you, we are still in the process.
Okay, we understand that this is there's a certain chieftaincy dispute that's underlining all of these issues, you know, that resulted in the death of this person. Was the police not aware so that there would have been, you know, police, some sort of police presence to maybe have prevented this from happening?
Well, for chieftaincy, I cannot talk about chieftaincy. All I know is that there are factions, two factions who are land guard that clash. That is all I can see.
Okay, we'll say a very big thanks to you, sir, for your time here on The Pulse. Inspector Kwabena Danso is a deputy PRO for the Greater Accra Region Police. They're bringing us up to speed. 29 suspects, he says, have been arrested following the killing of that gentleman and the injuries caused to those 3 other persons. He says the police will be there. He says there's massive deployment actually to Oshieye, and now the police will be there to maintain law and order. He's unable to tell me, by the way, how long they're going to be there and the measures put in place to keep the people there safe. Away from that story, though, let's get to a rather sad one. Sierra Leone, we've been following that story for quite some time now. Now, an aircraft carrying emergency team and relief items have from Ghana are on the way to Freetown, Sierra Leone, as Ghana extends a hand to that country following the devastating floods and mudslides on Monday. The death toll from official sources remain at 400, even though locals are reporting much more deaths. Now, as many as 600 are also reported missing. But as relief begins to reach Sierra Leoneans, JoyNews is learning there could be more trouble on the way for the country. Weather forecast shows heavy rainfall each day for at least the next 10 days in the capital, Freetown. Worrying situation indeed. We can first take you there and speak to journalist Alpha Kamara. Hello, Alpha.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How is Sierra Leone doing at the moment?
Oh, it's cool. The sun is up and yeah, so...
The sun is up, you say?
Come again?
Did you say the sun is up?
Yeah, the sun is up a little today, even though it rained this morning, but close to the time Muslims were going for prayers, it subsided a bit.
Right. What's the latest about in terms of relief items, what the country is getting at the moment, and rescue efforts?
Yeah, well, the rescue efforts are continuing, and relief support is coming gradually. Some NGOs and other West African neighbors or partners are also coming on board to help in terms of giving whatever they have to support the victims and also the government to see how they can gradually stabilize the situation. Yesterday, the last set of mass burials was held in Waterloo, outside of Freetown, and there you have even the Liberian president was there. So today, it's more relief work. Some people are donating, some are bringing in support, and some NGOs are also trying to stabilize, like Save the Children. They are concerned about the children. And they just issued a press release a couple of minutes ago that they are foreseeing another disaster in terms of waterborne diseases like cholera, diarrhea, and others. And in fact, they even confirmed that 2 cases of cholera have already been noticed from some members of their response team. So they're also concerned about other communicable diseases because of the disaster. And so that some people are focusing on that now, on improving water and sanitation and hygiene. Okay. Some people are also thinking about trying to rescue if there are more dead bodies, whatever, to see how they can get them. And some are focusing on giving relief support to some of the survivors and some of the victims here. So a whole lot of things are going on at the same time.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kamara, Alpha Kamara there, bringing us up to speed, is a reporter from Sierra Leone, bringing us up to speed on what's happening. But let's take a quick look at the weather forecast for Freetown. Now, we're told, like I indicated earlier on, that there will be rains, for the next 10 days. We'll bring you a quick update in the form of graphics on that. Okay, well, there we have it. Let's look at the weather forecast there now. On Friday, we're looking at 28 degrees Celsius. On Saturday, we're looking at 27 degrees Celsius. Of course, on Sunday as well, 26. Basically, all of them hovering around the same, the same levels. 28 degrees Celsius, 25 degrees Celsius for Friday. That indicates that heavy rain shower. So they're not seeing too much sun as they perhaps are seeing today. On Saturday, thundery showers as well. On Sunday, thunderstorms, which is quite normal. On Monday, thundery shower as well. Thunderstorms on Tuesday, Wednesday as well. So it runs throughout. Well, let's go on the line now and speak to the presidential spokesperson, Abdoulaye Berete. He joins me on the telephone line. He speaks for the president of Sierra Leone. Sir, thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having me.
What's the latest situation? What's the latest on the situation from the government's perspective? We just spoke to a reporter. What's the government's own perspective?
Well, right now we are focusing on the humanitarian side of it. We are registering all our affected victims in all the communities from the Regent Axis, Kaningo, Lumley, Colvard, up to the far eastern end of Wellington. And the number is just becoming too much. So far, even the pregnant and lactating mothers, we've recorded about 484. And the adult population is about close to 2,000 to 3,000 now. And we have school-going children, kids, that we've registered amounting to about 4,040. So in all of this, we also have a scare right now on the ground about a possibility of cholera outbreak. So the government has activated its Ministry of Health and Sanitation to a disease control program so that in these affected communities particularly, we'll be able to provide key messages so that we cannot have a double jeopardy while protecting this victims, the survivors, so that we cannot also be dealing with another public health issue. But up to this point, the recovery efforts are still ongoing. We are not going to give up because there is an indication that where we had a major disaster at the foot of Sugar Mount Low, we may have well over 600 people buried in the rubble. So the military is still leading the recovery effort. And of course, we are also providing temporary shelters right now. And as I'm speaking to you, the president has just convened an emergency cabinet meeting that is ongoing, because the main thrust of that discussion is how we are going to relocate the thousands of people in disaster-prone areas after we've been warned that the disaster still looms. So this is where we become overwhelmed. Yesterday was very emotional. The road leading to the cemetery was about a 20-mile stretch from Freetown to Waterloo. The streets were piled with the young, the old, the blind, the disabled, everybody pouring tears, crying for their compassion. And the president couldn't hold his tears. He too became emotional, because it was a very sympathetic and emotional feeling yesterday. And we are traumatized as a nation.
To what extent has the relief items and the support that you're receiving been helpful?
Well, we have friendly countries that have come. I must also say we are grateful to the Ghanaian community in Sierra Leone because we have very excellent relations with the government and people of that country. They've also come solidarize with us, who is able to give water. At least in that modest way, we appreciate it. But I must also indicate that we are very much overwhelmed. We need a lot of shelters for these people. We have just put them in some schools because schools are on holidays. And the mothers, the suckling parents are finding it difficult in that circumstance. And of course, we need purification. So the support that is trickling in, the Chinese government has come in, the Ghanaian, the Senegalese, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Liberia, they are all supporting us. But we needed also specialized recovery people so that when they are on the ground, they can complement the efforts of the military engineers so that we'll be able, because we don't want to be dealing also with another public health disaster because we still have suspected bodies under the rubble. This is where we are, and it is very challenging to say the least.
I can imagine that. I can't pretend to understand because I'm not in this same situation, but I can imagine how difficult this will be for the people of Sierra Leone. But we understand that in the next 10 days, you're not going to have very sunny weather. It seems that it's going to be still wet. What are the plans to make sure that, like you say, you don't have a double disaster, perhaps a triple one?
Well, we've been to the communities, we started evacuating people. The challenge though on the part of government is we are overstretched because don't forget it was in 2015 when we had a similar flooding, not to the magnitude of the disaster though. We had to relocate thousands of people in the outskirts of the city at a place called Mile 6. So when we are just recuperating from the scourge of Ebola, and now we are having this disaster, this is where we continue to appeal. The president has raised emergency threat to level 3, whereby he has taken charge to direct all the efforts. And the Office of National Security, the ONS, is coordinating the response to the disaster. And we have various pillars established, including the Environmental Protection Agency, and we have gone to these communities to get the people out of the most vulnerable places. But there is frustration, there is the issue of despair, because whenever the clouds become a little bit like showing signs of rain, even in the middle of the night, the people cannot go to bed because they don't know where the disaster is going to stop anymore. So that in itself, the entire country is presently traumatized, dealing also with the billions of properties lost and the multitude of people that we had to bury yesterday. And as I'm speaking to you, we are still recovering from bodies here and there, and we convey them to the main government hospital at Kona.
Finally, before I let you go, sir, yes, 2 days ago we understood from ECOWAS that they were coming through with some amount in support. How has that reached you yet?
Well, Professor Alpha Condé, the president of Guinea, was here. In fact, he was the first president to touch on the soil of Sierra Leone when the disaster happened. And he joined President Koroma to visit the affected areas to provide sympathy messages and console the people, the survivors, and their bereaved families. And he donated $100,000 with a promise of another 50 tons of rice. The same thing with the Senegalese delegation that came. The same thing with the Ivorian delegation. And China has also. So under the ECOWAS, they are supporting, and the African Union has also issued a request that African countries in particular must come to the aid of a sister country. So we are looking forward not just to humanitarian support, but even as much as even social workers to come and complement what we have on the ground. Because as I mentioned, the multitude of trauma we are dealing with is just enormous.
We wish you all the best. We hope that things get better and that you're able to, gain the emotional muscles to deal with this, even as you have to deal with all the physical things. Sir, thank you very much for your time. Abdoulaye Berete is a spokesperson for the Sierra Leonean government there, speaking to us from Sierra Leone. Meanwhile, Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Charles Oredo is one of those leading the mobilization of resources to support those affected by the floods, and he's been speaking to Maxwell Agbagba.
Yesterday at the cabinet session, we had a full hall and this matter was discussed thoroughly, and government has come out finally with a decision as to what to do. On our part, government mandated us as the ministry responsible for foreign affairs, to send a circular around, to the good people of this country to come to the aid of our brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone. Government today, NADMO is going to take off with some of the relief items that government is provided and the ones that we've also had from the good people of this country. NADMO is leaving this morning. Latest by 12, NADMO will be airborne, to take lead with the relief items. Then first thing tomorrow morning, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, will lead a high-powered government delegation to Sierra Leone, to present our share, of what we want to present to the good people of Sierra Leone.
Ghana here, we've had issues when disasters usually happen. We've had issues with distributing relief items. Many times, concerns are raised that the items do not get to the people who are really in dire need of, these items. We know NADMO is going to be at the front line distributing these relief items. What mechanisms are we putting in place to ensure that we are able to reach the people who are in dire need of these items?
Okay. They also have a disaster management system, central disaster management system in Freetown. So NADMO will be collaborating with their disaster management because they know the households that were affected by this mudslide. Okay. So yes, NADMO will lead. The items, the Vice President will get in early tomorrow morning. The presentation will be done. Yeah. Then the local NADMO there will do their own distribution because they know the houses and the homes that were affected.
Okay. What do you make criticisms that the regional bloc, that is the Economic Community of West African States, has not really lived up to the billing of acting swiftly?
I tend to disagree. You see, this calamity happened on Monday. Of course, on Tuesday, the president himself, even the country's leader, spoke to the press, spoke to the media, spoke to the people of Sierra Leone on Tuesday. That same Tuesday, a lot of the ECOWAS leaders, including our president, made various calls to the president of Sierra Leone. Let's look Ghana. Let's even take Ghana's experience. After the call to the president of Sierra Leone by our president, on Wednesday, I met the High Commissioner because you need to do some due diligence, some needs assessment. You don't just jump in if there's a disaster, just jump in, just providing relief. Find out the needs of the people. What do they need? And you can only get this from the people of Sierra Leone. So I disagree. Yesterday, we've had some presidents, visited. I'm aware that President Alpha Condé has been there of Guinea. I'm aware that For Yasimbe, like you said, President For Yasimbe has been there. In Senegal, they sent their President Macky Sall sent his Minister of Defense. In Ghana, the president is sending the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. So I don't think that the response has been late.
Finally, would you be able to share with us on the itinerary of the Vice President? Is it just going to be the presentation or the other things that you'll be doing as well?
No, of course. The Vice President will be there. He'll be met by the appropriate authorities, the President of Sierra Leone or the Vice President of Sierra Leone. Then he'll be also inspecting some of the affected areas. He'll be inspecting some of the affected areas. The Ghana mission, we have a high commission in Freetown, so they will be putting in the necessary, mechanisms to make sure that the visit of the Vice President is done well. The collaboration with the Foreign Ministry of Sierra Leone has already started. So we are expecting, a very fruitful deliberation tomorrow. Of course, there's also the Ghanaian community, most of them being fishermen. I've had the occasion of interacting with them. We also have some, diplomats.